Yeah.
Well, here we are again. Happy as can be.
Are we live?
I do believe so.
All right, okay.
Even if we've got no audience, we're still live.
Oh, I just wasn't sure after all the kerfuffle.
Well, you know.
The kerfuffle.
It's Facebook.
I know. Right, well, good evening everyone. I'm so sorry if I've kept you waiting. Some strange thing was going on, but anyway, we seem to be okay now. Let me know if we're not, please. Today, I'm going back to the watercolours that we did on Monday. I really enjoy it, and I find it very much of a challenge because it's not something I'm really proficient in. But I hope with a bit of practice that both you and me will improve and be able to produce things that we're really proud of in the future. I wanted to bring your attention to this book, The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady by Edith Holden. And I'm sure that most of you will have come across this before. It was very, very popular in the late 90s. Well, and the 80s actually. I mean, it's just a popular book and remains popular now, to be honest. But it does have, I've just received this copy. I did have a copy of it in earlier life. But just some of the watercolours in here, they're just so, oh, they're stunning.
Like some shout outs?
Yes, please.
Karen.
Hi, Karen.
Paula.
Hi, Paula.
Carol.
Carol.
Billy.
Billy.
Josiane.
Hi, Josiane. Thanks, everybody.
Olivia.
Thanks, Olivia.
Caroline.
Caroline.
That's about it.
Thank you all for joining me. Let's hope I can do something that's interesting. Huh? Look at this watercolour for February. I mean, it's just so gorgeous. And, you know, they really, I mean, there's just some stunning plates in here. There really are. So
show the front again for people that have joined us.
Yeah, it's The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady by Edith Holden. And they're not, it's not in print. It's out of print at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised if they brought it back into print because it's a really popular book. But if you want it, you have to buy a second-hand one. And I just received this yesterday morning, the postman. And I, you know, I don't like those, but everything else is very nice. There's just some amazing, I mean, I love this cowslip. Amazing plates in here, and they're all watercolours. And it clearly says at the beginning of the book that you can't reproduce anything from the book. But I'm quite sure that my finished foxglove will look nothing like Edith's finished foxglove. So I don't think I'm reproducing anything. Be nice if it did, but I don't think that's going to happen somehow. And then, I mean, there's just beautiful plates, these lovely dog roses that we tried last week. And today we're going to have a look at this foxglove. It's just beautiful. Foxgloves are one of my favourite flowers anyway. So that's what I'm going to try and do today. We've got a reference picture for you so you can follow along, see what sort of job I'm making of it. Who knows? Who knows? So I'll put that there so as I've got some sort of reference as well. Right, so I've sketched this out, as you can see, onto watercolour paper, and same as last week, I've just gone round with one of these masking fluid pens, which I must say I find very, very useful, really are, and just blanked out, well, you can see it in blue, but at the end, like last week, we'll rub it off and underneath there will be white, which is quite magical, really. These pens come in 3 sizes. There's a fine, a medium and a thick one. I can't tell you how much they were because I can't remember. I've had them for a while and never used them because, of course, I didn't really do much watercolour.
DBK says hi from New Orleans.
Hi, Dee Dee from New Orleans. Wow, that's amazing. I don't think we've ever had anybody from New Orleans. I tried to watch that programme. Oh, what was it called with Steve Irwin? Uh, I can't remember. But I couldn't understand the accent. I really tried ever so hard because I'm a huge Steve Earle fan. But it was one word, but I can't remember. Right, so anyway, back to the important stuff, the foxgloves. What I'm going to try and do today, which is where I think I went wrong last time, I'm going to make a very weak wash up with watercolour. Cover the whole thing, let that dry, make a slightly stronger version and do just part of it. So as I've got one part that's weak, 2/3 that's a bit stronger, let that dry and come in then with a stronger bit down the last third, which is the shadow. If you have a look at the picture, you'll see quite clearly the darker hues, therefore the shadows, are on the right hand side of the picture. So we want to get that right, if nothing else. Treme, that's it, treme. Yeah, I just couldn't get that. Couldn't get it at all. So I'm sorry, I've got my old plastic palette today. I couldn't find a posh one I had last week. I can't find anything in this house. It's ridiculous. Right, so let's make a start then, shall we? So it's the same principle as last time. We're going to put water down. Well, I'm going to make a wash up first, actually. It's a sensible thing to do. So I'm just going to spray a load of water into one of these little wells in here, and then I'm going to introduce a colour that I think might be foxglove-ish, and it's a kind of magenta pink, isn't it, really? So let's go with I don't know which to go with. I'm going to put a bit of that in, I think.
Josiane is from Malta. She says that's one of the most favourite watercolours in the book. Thanks for sharing your talent.
Oh, let's see how it goes.
And Angie says aye.
Hi, Angie. Right, so I've now got this mix of whatever this is. This is a Winsor & Newton set. It looks a bit purpley, and this magenta. Well, they called it fuchsia, but I would say it's magenta. I'm just going to water that down a little bit more. I think on Monday where I went wrong was I had too strong a mixture from the start. So I'm going for a really watery mix. I'm attempting that anyway. So let's wash that out. Get some clean water.
Billy's from Blacksburg in Virginia.
Virginia? Have we been through that with you about Virginia?
Fine, I think.
No, about the Carters, the Carter family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carter Cash.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think we have. I think it was Billy that we went through that with, so we won't bore everybody.
We exhausted his knowledge quite quickly.
Yeah, we did. So all I'm going to do is paint with water where we want this, and you want quite a bit of water, but you don't want it swimming. And if you're using masking fluid, put it on well in advance, let it dry naturally. Don't try and dry it with a hot air gun. It might work, I don't know, but it's latex, so it might just melt. So, right, let's try that amount of water. A little bit of this wash. Drop it into it. Yeah, that looks quite nice, I think. Looks quite mellow, doesn't it? So I'm starting at the top because as I come down, my hand won't be trailing in the bits that I've done. If I started here, my hand would be forever trailing in the wet bit, which is not what I want. So clean your brush out, pick up some clean water. Incidentally, you know, I'm not a watercolourist. This is me learning at the same time as you. So if I'm making a right hash of it and I've got watercolourists watching, sorry, is all I can say, but I'm trying my hardest.
Avert your eyes.
Yeah, avert your eyes. So I'm just dropping, just like we did with the dog roses, just dropping this colour into the part of the picture that we've wet. And I think that's quite a nice pale colour. I like that. I think the dog roses last week I had too much pigment in my thingy. And yes, it's a technical term. It comes into play many times in this house, does the thingy. Make sure you've got enough water so when you put the pigment down it's going to spread, but not so much that it's going to make its way outside of the area that you've put the water in. And I've got some leaves here at the top, so I'm just trying to leave them so I can paint them green at a later date. I don't know whether it would be better to just do part of this. It might get a bit boring if I do the whole thing, I don't know. No Shaz tonight.
I haven't seen a mention thereof. She could be just one of the people
lurking
that prefer to lurk.
Well, not usually. She usually says hello.
I know.
So you can see that I'm colouring the entire part of the flower that I can see in this very weak wash here. And you know, when you're at home, you can take your time. You can, you know, make sure that you get up to the edges. You've got the right amount of water on, whatever. I'm actually trying to kind of hurry this along a little bit. That's my excuse. It really is. And I'm going to stick to it religiously. So if you are watching, please say hi. Let us know where you're watching from. It's always a source of wonderment to me that people around the globe find us and watch us and seemingly enjoy us. It's really, really nice to have your company. Thank you. So you can see as these are drying, they're drying quite a pale colour, which is kind of good. That's kind of what I'm after. So I'm just working my way down this stalk of Foxgloves. Dropping the pigment in as I go. And of course, depending on how much water I've still got left on my brush, when I do that, I'm getting slightly varying shades of this. Mr. Fixit did find me. He told me last week after I'd finished that I had a set of watercolour brushes. Might have said it actually when we were live, and I dismissed it. I didn't think we had, but he's found them for me anyway. So these are Winsor & Newton Cotman brushes. They're not that expensive. I think they're £14 odd for a set of 5 useful brushes, which, you know, in the world of brushes, that's not too bad. You can see how the amount of water that I've had on my brush has made a real difference. You know, this one here, for example, is darker, so obviously I had less water on my brush when I picked the pigment up. Which are all things that I think we probably need to kind of find out about, which probably only comes to bear with practice. So the first step is paint with water, then drop your pigment in, and I've got this very dilute, well, it's called fuchsia, but I think it's the right colour for us. You can see it drying behind us as we go. It's just a bit too much water on there. And I guess that all these things, the amount of water that you put on, the amount of water that's still in your brush, I'm guessing that they all, you know, they must play a part in the finished colour that you get.
Miranda Green from Watercolours, Alberta in Canada.
Wow! Hi! What was the name? I missed the name.
Miranda.
Miranda.
Green.
Hi Miranda, thank you for joining us. Thank you very, very much.
Anna Jarvis is watching from Burlington, Ontario in Canada.
Wow!
And Dorothy's watching from Todmerton, Lancashire.
Oh,
Where
Dorothy.
they're having floods.
Oh, really, Dorothy? Dorothy has moved house, people that follow my usual crew, and she sent me, I think actually it's on the page, she sent me a picture of what she can see out of her window, and it looks very, very restful and pretty. So let's hope she's happy in a new home when she finally gets settled, and then can join in the watercolouring, Dorothy.
Caroline said when she was young she had a colouring book where you just added water.
Oh yes, weren't they joyous? They were. Oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved mine, and I kept it for ages before I put water on it because I knew once you'd done it, it was over. But I really, really loved it. So because the two either side of this are still damp, this is going to spread across them all. But that's okay, this is just our first layer. And I think we've only got one left. So you can see that my sketching wasn't the best in the world, but it wasn't the worst either. And it'll give us an idea. And that is one thing I would say to you. Don't be put off doing things because you think, I can't draw or I can't sketch or whatever. Practice. That's all it is. Just practice. Keep practicing. And then one day you'll think, hang on, I can do this. But you won't get there unless you practice, really, to be fair. Okay, so that's all of these ones put in. Now, before I move on, no, I'll do before I move on to the next coat, I'm just going to take a bit of this out. If you've got a pipette, it's a good time to use it. So I'm just going to take a little bit of that out. And water it down a little bit more because I want it for the inside parts. And they really are quite pale, as you can see on the reference. So it's the same procedure. Wet the bit that you want the pigment, and you see that inside the sort of throat of these, they've got quite a lot of spots of darker and lighter. So I've masked that in. I'm just going to do this one while I'm here as well. It is quite warm in here, but it'll certainly keep that damp, I'm sure.
Ziggy says, how are you?
Hi Ziggy.
Paula says she's out of the bath.
Oh, well, that's a relief. So this is just a paler version of what we used on the outside, because it is paler on this sort of inner part of them. Yeah, I think that's looking all right. So it's just a bit of time and patience. Really? So as I say, I'm learning myself as we go along. But I must say, I am absolutely loving it. I'm really liking it a lot. I'm enjoying it. And to be honest, if you're not enjoying something by the time you get to my age, pack it in. Just do what you want to do. So for all these don't look that dramatically different, these are going to stay this light colour. Well, I might put a slightly bit of a darker bit in right in the throat of them, but basically these are going to stay this sort of very pale colour as we work on the trumpet parts, and darken them down as we go. So what's the weather like in Canada, guys? I'm guessing that you're preparing for winter, and I know that you have harsh winters. We in this country seem to be unprepared for winter every year. The trains come to a stop, schools don't work, buses don't run, whereas in Canada you seem to have much harsher weather and everything still seems to carry on as normal. So well done. Just the last couple to do. I might have a go, depending on how this turns out. If this is a total flop, then it's probably time to stop watercolouring. But if it turns out anything, you know, half decent, then I might have a go at some more of the Edith Holden works, because I really love that book. Okay, so there we are. We've got the inside parts of the trumpets put in. Now we're going to go back to the outside parts with a stronger colour than this and make it, and just go over 2/3 of the trumpets. So what I need to do is pick up some more of the colour that we're using and drop it into there, which will give us a more concentrated dilution. I'm really not good with this, so I don't know how much I need to add, but we'll keep going. So as I said, I only want this really on sort of 2/3, and on these ones at the top it's probably not even that, it's probably just about a half, well, just around the edge, let's say. So let's put that on and see. Is that looking darker? Maybe not dark enough. We'll move on to the next one. I did put 2 coats on there, so move on to this one and let's have a look and see what it's looking like. Might have to add some more pigment to it. Hard to say, really. I think I'll leave that like that. Or I might just add a teensy bit more. What I don't want is it getting too dark too soon, because I've got the shadows to make on the right hand side, and I don't want you know, don't be having to use pure pigment by that stage. So this one was a bit darker anyway. So just sort of 2/3 of it, I'm saying, to make that slightly darker shade. Yep.
Janet says it's a beautiful picture used as a reference.
Yeah.
She had a copy but lost it in the move.
No, I know. Yeah, I had a copy as well and lost it throughout life's
Trials and tribulations.
Yes, trials and tribulations. Yeah, so I hope that you can see that there's actually a lighter piece down the left hand side, and then we've come in with this darker hue on the right hand side, which is giving the thing sort of 3D-ness, which is kind of what we're aiming for. Might see it better a bit on this one, it's a bit larger. I think if I'm going to sort of insist on doing these sort of things, we probably need to have a look at the setup that we've got, and try and get in closer with the camera.
You can get in closer, but once you get down the bottom, you're going to have to move it up.
Right, okay.
Not now, mate.
I'm just getting ready for moving it.
Better?
Yeah, I think that's better. Anything where it's slightly closer, because it's really difficult to see. And if you can't see what I'm doing, then I can talk till I'm blue in the face, but it doesn't make any sense really.
Sometimes it's a benefit.
Sometimes it's a huge benefit, thank you, yes. It's always different, actually. You know, I'm here seeing what I'm seeing, and then I look up and I look at the camera and I think, blimey, it doesn't really look like that. I'm not altogether happy with that. I think that needs to go around a bit more. Needs a bit of shadow underneath it as well, because it's, as does that actually, come to think of it. We need shadow under the ones that are above it. I don't know why I didn't think of that until now. Right, so we need a bit of water on here, down that side. I don't know, we're not doing too badly, I don't think. Excuse me. Okay. It's probably all a little bit harsh. There's probably some way of making the watercolours meld together. But I don't know what it is. So the people that are watching, are you acrylic artists or crafters or furniture painters? What do you do? Let us know what you do. I'm sure we have some furniture painters watching us. I'm just going to come around there and put some of this into there, because there's a shadow. And there's also a shadow around there, and probably around there. Okay, so we've got kind of two of these tones on. Now I'm just going to come into the centre of here with this slightly darker colour and just drop a little bit into the centre of the throat of this, because that's kind of what it looks like to me is happening. You want to keep your brush moist, but not dripping. You need to carry quite a bit of water, and I can see now why these are watercolour brushes, because they do carry more water for sure. So I'm just dropping that into the centre of these, the throats of these trumpets. I'm trying to get a hurry up on, really. Oops. I'm going backwards up here, which is never really a good idea.
Jeannie and Ziggy said they do furniture, and Caroline does furniture, but wanting to learn art.
Ah.
And Josie Ann says she's a writer and crafter. She used to love glass painting back in the 90s.
Wow, a writer. Hi Caroline, I don't think I said hello to you, and I'm not sure I said hello to Ziggy either for that matter. So what did you write? What sort of genre were you in?
She is a writer.
She is a writer?
Yes.
Oh, right.
She used to paint glass back in the 90s.
Right. Okay, so what do you write then? I think it's fascinating. It's something that I really quite like to do. Right, okay, so that's that, as much as I can do. So what I need to do now is add more pigment to this so as we can get the much darker colour over on the right hand side. So I'm just going to pick up some more of that pigment and add it to this, the same puddle of water that I've got, which will ensure that it's darker than the last one. So you start off with a very dilute mix, then you use it for your light colours, then you add some more pigment to it, get a medium colour, and now we've added some more to it, so hopefully we should be getting a sort of darkish colour. That's a theory. That's just a theory. But it sounds like it should work, doesn't it? Yeah, that looks nice and dark. You have to remember with watercolour that it does dry loads lighter than when you first put it on. You give yourself a fright sometimes when you first put it on because it's so dark, but it does dry really light. I mean, you can see these ones now that have dried, and they're much lighter than when we first put it on. So I'm hoping that you're understanding what I'm doing here. But it might well be worth looking up the proper way to watercolour paint, because I'm not saying this is right, but it does seem to make sense to me.
Julianne says she writes short stories, gardening articles and poetry.
Oh wow.
Actually, that's what she is, really, a poet and a crafter.
Wow, that's really nice. Poetry. I love vocabulary. And I'm a bit of a pedant. Just a bit. Don't think I had enough pigment on that one. So have any of you tried the dog roses from last week? From, well, Monday it was actually. They were pretty. I haven't tried them again, but I kind of think that I should have employed this sort of technique to them of building up to the darker colour around the edge, because it sort of didn't work the way I did it. So last one. Right, okay, so let's have a good look at what we've got and what we need. They do look like they've got a sort of a bluiness to them. I'll leave that till they dry, and I'll have a look at the leaves in the interim. And so we need to sort of sort out a colour that the leaves might be. So, oh, my paint's dried up. Let's use the larger brush. Grab some of this. I think I'm going for that one actually. Oops. I don't have that many watercolours, as I say, it never interested me really before. And all the sets I've got are the basic sets, so they seem to have pretty much basic sort of colours in them, all the same really. And I think if you want anything different, you've got to expand your horizons to larger sets, or buy individual ones, I guess is the way forward. These are called half pans, the ones that I've got here, these ones, and this is a full pan set. But you can buy them singly, and you can buy the empty boxes to put your single things in. You can buy watercolours in tubes, yes. It's not something I've ever used, so I absolutely cannot tell you what they're like. No idea. So similarly, I've got no idea how strong this green is. Yeah. I'll practice just down here, see. I don't think it's too strong. Let's just add a little bit more. If in doubt, add some more. Oh no. Now I've got it all over the shop. Right. Let's see what I can save out of there. Right, okay, so just clean that brush out because I don't want that one. Let's start again at the top with the leaves that we've got at the top. So it's clean water that you put down. These have got the little buds really, they haven't come out yet. So let's see what this looks like. Wow, that's pale. Let's try this one, see if it's any different. Yeah, it is, it's green. Okay. This is similar, it's got this bud leaves, new little leaves on it. I'm just going to do these little fiddly bits first. Get them out of the way. So I've got water in them and I'm just dropping my pigment in. And I might have to come back with more pigment, but I'd rather err on the side of being too light a wash than being too dark. Absolutely throwing it down here. I can hear it against the window. It's really pelting down. So let's do this one. And you know, I can't emphasize this enough. When you're doing this at home by yourself, take your time. I'm kind of doing a whistle stop tour here, and you know, it can't possibly be as good as if you'd spent time doing it. think we're going to have to definitely come back over this green. It's not dark enough, but we can select which places we make darker. We can leave some of it quite light. I'm just going to put my green in there before I do this longer one, so I don't want them to dry. What time is it, please?
It is... You've been on 40 minutes.
Oh, good. I'm actually making progress, I think. So let's just put the pigments into there. So I hope that some of you are going to have a try. You don't need to start with a foxglove if you don't feel up to it. Start with a daisy or the dog rose that we did on Monday, but try and apply more of this sort of technique to it, I think, where you sort of sneak up on it slowly, really. Put a very dilute pigment in first, and then you've got the opportunity to come back and darken parts of it, or leave it as it is. You can see that colour just blooming out from my brush when I drop it down there. It is quite magical, actually. It must be exciting because Mr. Fix-It's sitting looking at his iPad. So I've lost my audience.
They're probably still out there somewhere.
Is anybody saying anything to us? Is anybody there? Is anybody there? Please answer me. Okay, so now we've got the stem and the two big leaves at the bottom to do. If you're following along with the reference picture, you can pick these two leaves out.
The blue masking fluid is very handy for you to know where you put it, but it can often make it look funny.
Yeah, I know.
You're in the middle of.
You've got to sort of think past it, really.
Just sort of blank it out.
Yeah, because it looks blue, doesn't it? It looks weird.
It looks weird next to that.
Yeah, fuchsia colour.
Fuchsia colour. It's a foxglove.
Yeah, I think it's the right colour though.
I think it's the right colour. Just didn't want to confuse people.
No, the blue, in case you've joined us late and you think I've gone a bit bonkers, the blue is masking fluid. And masking fluid's used for where you want to keep the paper underneath it white. Because there is, well, I say there is no white watercolour. People who are watercolourists,
When you get time.
People who are watercolourists tend to use gouache for white. But just for small bits like this, the easy way is to just mask bits off. I mean, you can mask huge bits off if you want to. But really, I would say all you need to do. People use it quite a lot when they're putting skies in and they've got, say, trees or whatever in the sky, because they want to put the sky on as one wash, you know, from edge to edge, right across it. And if you stop because you've got to go around a tree or a house or whatever it is, it gets a bit punctuated. So people do use masking fluid for that as well. But here I just wanted to preserve some a white edge to the trumpets, because that's what they seem to look like to me. So this is the stem.
People are there.
Oh, hooray! Hello! Although I was talking to myself there for a while. Exactly, I did. Really, truly think I was. Because you're not passing anything along.
I think they're all mesmerised, according to Karen.
It's easy to mesmerise Karen. Show her a photo of a chinchilla. Right, okay, so that's the green put in. It looks bonkers with this blue masking fluid even. Right, so what I want to do now is I just want to go back over these leaves with a slightly darker hue, add some more pigment to the thing. Which was it I used? What did I use? That one, maybe. So I'm just going to add some more to that same well, which will make it a much darker colour. Same amount of water. Obviously we haven't added any water, we're just adding the pigment, so it will make it darker. And there's just various bits that I just want to smarten up with a bit of a darker colour. Sorry guys. This is all this colour is going on the sort of right hand side, if you like, because this was the side that we looked at the reference and we worked out that's where the shadows were. So I'm not going bonkers with it, I'm just doing little bits just to bring it to life a little bit, give it some shadows. I better get cracking with this because otherwise I'm going to be out of time. So just little bits on those tiny little wispy bits, just a little bit, just give it some life. I'm quite tempted to add some blue into this mix and make it more sort of purple, just in very few parts. So you can see that tracking where the water was. It's looking quite nice. So a little bit more on there. Maybe on these while they're still damp. Remember last time we talked about wet in wet and wet in dry. This looks like it needs encouraging to lose that line. I don't like that line along it. This one's quite pale here, so needs a bit of cheering up, I think. I think I'm perhaps not putting enough water down for it to track around, you know, follow around. I'm just going to persist with these leaves and see if I can actually get them done. Too much, too much, too much. No, not enough. I've got 5 minutes and I've got so much I want to do yet.
No rush. What else are people going to do on a wet and windy Thursday evening?
Well, they have lives, you know.
Don't be silly.
I know it sounds a shock. I mean, what else would you rather do? Watch this or watch the telly?
For some people, of course, it would be the middle of the day, I guess.
Yeah. I'm just following where I put the water around, and I'm just going to add a little extra bit under there because it's in shadow from this trumpet of the foxglove. So I hope you can see that. So then there's just the stem and that big leaf to go. Come on, play ball. And a bit under there as well, and under there. Just where you think there's a shadow, which is usually underneath something, a petal of, in this case, the trumpets of the flower. So there's just this leaf to do, and it's kind of mostly over on this side that I wanted. Maybe a little bit up there, not much. Right, I just want some clean water on there and drag that out a bit. It's just going to leave too much of a definite line, and I don't want that. So there we are. Right, okay, so I'm just going to look at what else is in the trumpets of these, and then that'll have to be the end because we're running out of time. So I want quite a small brush, and I want a very dark colour, and the colour I'm going to select is a purple, if I can find any. Yeah, that's it there. So I'm just going to spray my pan, get the paint on the top juicy. I had done all this before I started, but it's nice and warm in here. So there you are. I mean, that's juicy paint. And I'm just doing this with a small spot brush, and I'm just adding some dark spots into the inside of the trumpet, like foxgloves have. I'm kind of trying to avoid the masking fluid because it'd be pointless because it'll come off with the masking fluid. And I want there to be white dots in here. That is a nice juicy mix. A lot of pigment in it. Now if I had time, and I was just carrying on myself, I would get some more pigment and go around the top, just above where that masking fluid is. I'll just show you what I mean. Still with my little brush, and I'm just going to add, I'll use this one, I'm just going to add some more of that, the fuchsia colour, to the mix that we've got here. Quite a lot of it actually, I want quite a strong mix. Quite a dark colour, that's the darkest fuchsia that we've used so far. And I would just paint in wet on dry, just ever so slightly above where that masking fluid is, just to give it a bit of an edge to the trumpet and a start to the inside bit. In fact, Edith, I feel I can call her Edith, she's gone all the way around here, all the way around her trumpet. So just bear with me just a second please, and hopefully we can get this kind of finished. There's areas that need shadows as well, but they're just going to have to live with it. I hope you enjoyed this. I know it's been a little bit whistle stop, but it sort of has to be really if we're going to do it in an hour. So I'm just on the trumpet side of the line that I've masked in, and hopefully when we take the masking fluid off you'll see why that, well, hopefully it'll work. So I'm just going on the outside edge of the masking fluid. I'm just using a small round brush.
Colour for shadowing as well, I would think that.
It is, I was just saying I need shadows, but I can't go on forever. People get fed up.
You're not fed up and you're not even at the hour yet.
Oh right. So I'm just using this darkest shade that we've had just to go under bits to give them a shadow, and maybe down that side as well. So under here, for example, there would be a shadow down that side, a little bit like that. Under here there would be a shadow.
Now that brings them to life.
Yeah, little things sometimes, honestly, they make the hugest difference. So there's a shadow under here because this is in front. This one. Let's bring the trumpets round as well. Shadow there. Big shadow under here. So as I say, this is different to what we've been doing so far. This is wet paint onto dry paper. So far we've been doing wet on wet because we've wet the paper first and then put the wet paint on it. Little shadow down there as well, I missed. I hope it's looking alright. Little shadow in here. They do make a difference. You don't have to fill that whole region up. I'm just putting sort of broken lines down it really. That is a shadow in there. And also in here. It's about now really that we should be taking the reference picture down. Because you're looking at it and looking at this thinking, Okay, well, I could go on. I could darken those leaves a little bit further. They probably need it, in all honesty. Which was the brush I used for green? This one. And that was the green that I used. So I'm going to put a little bit more pigment. I know that I'm running over now, I'm sorry, but I can't stop. I just can't stop.
You're exactly a minute over, that's all.
Oh, right, okay, we're doing all right. So clean that brush out of the pink that I had on it. Make sure it's clean. And for this one down the bottom here, I'm going to do a little bit more wet on wet.
I said it looks fabulous, Susan says beautiful, and Angie says gorgeous.
Oh, thanks guys. You've always got my back, thank you, I appreciate it.
Olivia says a real pro job.
Wow, thank you so much. So I'm just going to drop this into here, same as we've done. This is back to the wet on wet. It's just this was looking a bit sorry for itself really. When it dried it just was all very one-dimensional. So I'll just do half that leaf, about half of it, in that darker colour. We'll come back up to this side of the stem, just on the side. You could do this wet on dry if you wanted to, but we'll go with that, try and get softer, more mellow. Bit of shadow in there, for sure. And around here, underneath there will be shadow. Drop that in. Try and keep this sort of half the leaf darker. That's okay. And this is just wet on dry. I'm now trying to go over the bits that are wet and not drop my arm into them. It's just little bits that make a difference. Add dimension, stop it being quite so sort of flat looking. And watercolour sometimes can look very flat. It's kind of part of its charm actually. You know, when it dries it can look really quite flat. I mean, some people do amazing impressionist stuff with it. That's about it. I'm calling it at that, but we have to get the masking fluid off. I have got my fine liner out, but I don't really want to use it on this. I quite like the simplicity of this one. So I'm just going to, excuse me, but I'm just going to dry this. Make sure it's dry before we take the masking fluid off. Please have a go at sketching or drawing or something. Try and set aside sort of 10 or 15 minutes a day. And I know everybody's busy. Nobody's got any spare time, I know that. But 10 or 15 minutes where you just draw the same thing, if you want to, over and over and over again. And then one day you'll think, blimey, I can do this. But, you know, you need to practice. Absolutely, everybody does. And then just suddenly, you can sketch. Right, is that dry enough? I think so. I can actually feel that the latex of the masking fluid reacting to the heat, so I don't really want that. So let's just try and take this off then. It's quite a satisfying thing to do this. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. So there we are, that was the job that it was doing. It was protecting this white in here and giving me white, where are we? There's white dots in there. I'm not sure that you can see them, but they are, yeah. So we've achieved the white dots with the masking fluid, and we've achieved the dark dots with a quite concentrated mix of paint. So there we are. You can see the white dots probably more readily there, I think, and you can definitely see the three colours that we were after. The pale one that we put all over the trumpet to begin with, then the mid one, and then the darker one. And I think we've achieved what we, well, pretty much achieved what we wanted to. So there it is, I can't get it all in. The Foxgloves from Edith Holden's Diary of a Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady, that's it. So there we are. I don't think I'm going to do anything more to that. It is what it is. I hope you enjoyed it. I really, really hope you enjoyed it. The more I do this, the more I'm enjoying it, to be honest. And I suspect that that will be the case for you. Watercolour paints aren't expensive, not when you consider the price of acrylics and things like that. You can buy expensive watercolours. These aren't at all. These are Derwent, the people that make ink tens and sketching pencils, lots of things. But they've come out with these two sets of watercolour paints, and I think the correct price of them is £22 for the set. We got them in as a buy one get one at some reduction or whatever. But the cheapest ones are these ones. They come in little, see, like that. I think there might be two sets here actually. But they're really inexpensive, and they're actually really good. They're by a company called Kohinoor, Kohinoor, and I think they're called Petal watercolours. I like them a lot. They're more like inks to me. They're very lot of pigment in them. So no reason not to start. Get cracking. And have a lovely weekend, and I will see you on Monday at 6 o'clock UK time, where we'll be doing something else, but I don't really know what it is yet. Let me know if you want me to do another watercolour. I don't want to bore you by just doing watercolour on watercolour if it's not your interest. So if you want me to do another watercolour, let me know and we'll do that. If not, I'll come up with something else, but I don't know what that might be yet. So see you on Monday. Thank you very much for sharing your time with me. Thanks. Bye.